Hi, this is Bernie here at CCI, Connections Consulting Incorporated, here in the meeting room of our known whereabouts. We're not going to tell you, it's a private meeting room, but we're doing some training today on business planning and goal setting. For those of you that want to learn that, and it's a quick overview. I'll tell you what our company is about. We're about sales management training in detail. We have 1 hour modules comprising a full 1 day and 2 day course, depending on whether you take our advanced or our basic training. We have the same 2 approaches in leadership and management of staff. And then we also have our 1 day customer service training with 8 modules in that as well. So we're based out of the greater Calgary area here in Strathmore, Alberta. And today I want to give you a tidbit of basic information on business planning and goal setting. And we're really going to cover 2 areas, your work and your week. But within business planning, there's really about a dozen or more things, a dozen and a half things you got to cover off. And you can see on our Facebook module attached to this video, we've listed off a number of those. Sales, marketing, forecasting, and that kind of thing, so you can advance your plans of your company and your work. Even if you work for someone and provide a service to them, you're being paid well, or you have your own company and you're an entrepreneur. So we're going to go with that. Within our teaching today, there's 4 main things we'd like to talk to you about. And I want to assert that one of the number 1 things is market segmentation. If you can't account for your own market and who you're actually going after with your products and services, you're in trouble. And so you need to know your demographics, who you're after. Are you after black females or white generals of armies, or who are you targeting with your specific product? Brill cream, hair gel, curlers for your hairnet, that kind of thing. Or what are you doing? So marketers spend a lot of time in detailed analysis figuring that out. But what we want to work with you on as well is, once you know your market and who you're going after, and you've decided on your product types and analogies of what you're doing, market segmentation goes a foot deeper than that. If your sales reps are going to work well together, you need to know how to do that. So segmenting your market pie and who you're targeting goes that foot deeper, where you're dividing up territories and plans by customer reps, and customers being assigned to specific reps to avoid infighting and all of that. And then things go well that way as you do that, because the least amount of infighting you have in your teams, the better. You can focus on what you do well, serving your customer, providing that service and economic gain for them, that product entry-level field thing that we do out there, right, as we serve our customer toast, pie, whatever, in a bakery, a retail store, outlet, groceries off the shelf, etc., etc. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is product cost. And I've got 4 key things in your work out of this business plan. And as I said, I have a 30-year plan, so I'm focused on making that gain happen. And I've kind of spelled it out in detail. And well, why do you want to plan? Let's back up for a second. I mean, there's an old saying in society that men don't ask for directions. And neither do we read instructions as we assemble things, presents and toys for our children. And there's always that one last part or screw left over, right? Well, a plan, we got to think a bit different, because a plan allows you to stay focused, and it is your direction manual. It's come from within you, but you've written it down so you can stay very succinct and on track with what you're doing. So there is a better way sometimes. Sometimes you don't avoid your plan, but maybe you'll step outside of it and take up another 10% opportunity and add it into your plan and gain by that. Or you can refer back to your plan and help you stay focused. It's like your roadmap. And even though you're working it out from within you and it's your head knowledge, you've created this or you've taken it on from somebody else if you're working for them, referring back helps you to equate success in a market that's given. No, it's not all that forgiving sometimes. You got to work hard, right? So the better your plan is, the better off you are. The second thing is your projected revenues, and let's talk about our second and third thing jointly together. Revenues and cost of production. If you don't know your cost of production, you're nailed down on the beach right there. You're not going to make it a foot further. So figuring that out helps you gain, because in the marketplace you can know how to negotiate better if you know your cost of production. So what I've done in my plan, it's section 13 of my plan, is I've figured out my cost of production in my training services. I have 3 training packages I offer that I had listed before: sales management, customer service, and leadership. And the average retail price I sell my training for, or I am in the works of, is $3,500. My courses range from $1,800 per day up to $57, as high as $6,700. Even there's one at $7,500 for a 1 and 2 day course. So you can negotiate those on a couple of scenarios, but our average price is $3,500. If a group comes to me, it's succinct, it's easy to manage. I can negotiate a lower price because they've provided me with 12 students or pupils who are going to learn from me my market expertise of over 30 years, where I've achieved double and gain for other 4 major companies and 8 major short-term projects I've worked on for anywhere from 2 to 5 months to a year. And they're going to learn from me, so I can take that 12 people, those 12 people from that company, and negotiate them a better deal. Sometimes you'll negotiate based on an early booking or delivery time frame. So you tell people if your course is in December, if they've booked by July the 15th, for example, maybe you'll give them a 10 or 15% discount. But you got to know where your cost is and what your average revenue is before you can substantiate giving those market discount mercies or discounts to people. So that's one, is know that. And I went to great lengths to figure that out. Now the second part of this, which I said is our third item in work, is your revenues projected. Once you know your cost of production, well, then you can start to forecast where you're going to gain. Now I've done that in my point number 14, gross profit, providing a real look at the market and who's out there. Well, I've gained about 300 customers in year 1.5 of my 3-year business plan, and it's more specific and detailed what I'm doing, rolling out tactics and so forth. So there's 300 customers that are various levels on the interest or just became aware of me grid to fully committed. And I've got about 6 corporations that could shake a hand at any time and become a paying customer. And so as that unfolds, and we're looking at anywhere between now July 2018 into my end goal was February 2019. So I've got a grid here that shows you, 3 to 4 corporate customers would provide $1.6 million in gross revenue, on and on and on, up to point number 4, globally 281 to 290 customers, $120.1 million in gross revenue. So if you want to become part of a franchise owner of our corporation globally, we have a grid to work on, a focus. We're not flying by the seat of our pants, winging it here. So that's a good way to join somebody, is if they know what they're doing and going on that. So the second thing I want to talk to you about is your work week. And before I say that, fourthly, you got to know how to ask for the sale. If you don't ask for the sale, you're not going to get it. Relational selling, and that's what I advocate, is very different from some kind of planned approach where you do all these things and you make a deal and it's a one-off and you never see the guy again. We're working on relational, long-time customer loyalty, value, lifetime value of a customer. And customers want that too. Even if they spread their business around between a few different agencies or local brands, you're getting a share of their wallet or the pie of business. And you start to know each other well, and it's relational, so you don't always have to ask, because they're just coming in to book an order because they know you, right? And there's trust. And that's really the keys of authority you're getting in our training and our workshops. It has a lot to do with that trust. But you got to ask for the sale sometimes, and if you know what you're doing and you're good at it, you did initially. I mean, liken it to if you have a wife or a husband or a girlfriend or a guy friend. The first time you met them, and then you ended up on a date, and you got married maybe, or you're living together married, someone probably had to ask the other one, because you don't just kind of like assume, and then, I mean, rarely does it happen. I don't know too many people that just kind of ended up together. Someone asked the other one, would you like to go out with me? And that's the way it is in business sales too. You got to ask. So step that foot forward. Work your plan. It's small bite-sized chunks. So you're working on a 3-year plan or a 30-year plan for lifetime gain. You're not doing it all at once. People get overwhelmed sometimes. Think of a 7-day time frame window. You rest at the end of every week. You start again. You set your goals. Maybe pick 3 that you need to accomplish, simple and easy, not necessarily. Maybe there's a hard one in there. Then at the end of that week, assess, did I accomplish my 3 priorities or goals? Yes, you did. Great. Move on to the next part of the pie or the plan that you're focusing on, and keep going. If you haven't, you carry over and you reassess what your 3 priorities are. It might take you 3 or 4 weeks to accomplish one of your goals, but you just keep moving it forward. So that's good. That's really the 2 key things I want to say about business planning in this short tidbit video, and then covering off those 4 areas: market segmentation, revenue projections, cost of production, and asking for the sale. Now let's move on to goal setting, and we can talk about that briefly for a short bit here, but there's really some things that you got to remember when you're focusing on goal setting, and there's a strategy coming out of your plan, and it's usually a big strategy, a high-level strategy, and there's some things you'll do to accomplish that. Like social media is one, you're accomplishing that. Sometimes advertising dollars spent, or a billboard on in your market where people notice it, a poster board that's a given that they're going to see. So that's creating your brand awareness in your overall strategy, your vision coming into action, your vision actions. Then you want to break it down into tactics, where there's very detailed work you do day in and day out, and it gets hard and sweaty. And no one's going to sell you a get-rich-quick scheme at Bernie May Inc. here at CCI, Connections Consulting, not at all. It takes hard work. There's miracles, there's a bit of luck that happens as you step forth in that, but it's really up to you each day. And you can't even rely on your other departments in a corporation. You got to think about, if I had to do this myself, could I get it done before you make promises to the customer? And that's one thing I learned from a very smart man, Jeff Giles, who I worked with as an employee years ago. There's probably 3 men out of all the people that shaped my life, out of about a dozen or more, 3 where I really bid hard into the chunk of things, of the learning desire, hard to work for men that drove me hard to make it work for them and their organization. One was my dad, one was Mel Mullen of the prayer ethic I believe in, because I believe in prayer. If you look on my LinkedIn, my top 5 courses I enjoyed and got the most out of in life, in my Bernie May story and my articles on LinkedIn, one of them was prayer. And then Jeff Giles being the third man. And they were hard men to work for, but like my dad said to me when I was young working for him, he said, son, I'm going to treat you twice as hard as anybody else that works for me. You're going to pay a price because you're my own kid, and I don't want anybody feeling like I'm playing favorites with you, so just know that and know and expect that. So sometimes you might be in that situation, and you got to know the learning is worth it, because each one of these men give me extra in terms of learning and teaching, but I had to pour the sweat out into it to learn. So if you come work with me at CCI as a corporate leader, as I build my company, and we'll be very shortly hiring 24 jobs locally here in the Calgary area as I get my funding wrapped up, and globally as a franchise owner, know that we're going to push hard at times, but you will glean results you care about in your life and will make you do well for your family and for you and your business action team around you. So the tactics, you got to carry those out, hard work, managing the details every day, and the timelines. Well, let's talk about that for a minute as we wrap up here. There's really 2 main items in goal setting carried out through all those actions. One is your margin, and we talked about that in the business planning half of this video. Know your cost of pie if you're selling pie, so you can figure out your margin per piece of pie, right? So you know if you're making a return. And then secondly, calculating your margin, your revenue less your expenses, so that you can figure out your quarterly net return. If you can't each quarter show a return on investment to your shareholders or to your own personal wallet if you're a private entrepreneur, or to your boss if you're an employee, well, the next quarter is tougher on you, because companies go through cycles and downturns, but there's got to be return on the horizon, otherwise you can't do it. We can't pull nothing out of thin air. So let's, before we wrap up, I want to talk to you about charts. I'm going to move over to the board behind me, and we're going to get working with that quickly. But one of the important things to remember about a plan is there's various people fulfilling the components. And sometimes it is, well, who was getting that done? Well, I thought he was doing it. Well, no, I thought she was doing it. Well, no. And why are we behind on that? A TOA chart allows you a solution to that. TOA, timeline of accountability, timeline of actions. So here on the top, we got Bob, then we got Bill, the next guy, then we got Sam, and we got Susie. Everybody has a part in fulfilling the plan. It's a timeline, okay, to an end point. There's an end point. I'll explain this as I go. So we got February, we got March in any given year, okay? So there's 4 people, and they're all doing something to roll out your plan and make it happen. Now let's look at what they're doing. Bob, through February and March, is getting the work done. So that's consistent. The work that is core to your business, Bob is doing that right through. So you know that, you can refer back to that. And you can do this on a computer bar chart in your programs. I'm just drawing it here for simplicity today so you can see it and know it. Bill, his time, because of your budget, was spent on maintenance repair. Well, he's fixing that thingamabobber. Bill's fixing the thingamabobber. Now he's doing it in 2 stages. Phase 1 to the end of February, phase 2 to the end of March. Well, you can track that. So at the end of February, you're sitting down, Bill, how's it going? Are you getting that thingamabobber fixed? You measure progress, okay? That keeps things accountable and stays in the right pocket of the right person doing the things. Well, Sam, he was putting a nut on a bolt. And he did that in 2 phases. For the first half of February, he was putting a nut on a bolt. And then, for the first half of March, he was putting another nut on a bolt. Well, you could go back to Sam at the end of each month. Did you get that nut on that bolt? And you could check, because you've drawn out your diagram. Well, Susie, what was she doing? Well, she did this, and she came back 3 different times. It was for 10 days each. She was going to nail a guy down on a price. Because if we can't get that market, what are we going to do? We got to nail a guy down on that price. We got to nail him down. She did that for the first 10 days of Feb, then for the 10 days overlapping the 2 months, and then thanks to Susie's hard work, right as we wrapped up in March, she was out there nailing that guy down on the price again one more time. Because that was our supplier and we had to get our cost of goods down, or, how could we go out of business? Well, if you don't have your price listed high enough, you could go out of business. Or if you're paying too much for the supply of your goods, you're in equal trouble. So I'm going to go with that now as we wrap up here at CCI in our short, 22-minute video on a little bit of information from goal setting and business planning. And just remember, leave a bit of extra time. Don't write it in stone, because there's opportunities that come up. It's maybe only 10% of the time, but you might acquire new business, a new product, strength in your glean of things in your portfolio. There's reasons to not be etched in stone and have some flexibility. And I guess, like the old saying went on that shoe commercial, just do it, over and over. Just do it, just do it. We have one more thing in that wrap up here, and that's, sometimes there's things you can't plan for that happen. There's bad tragedies that happen in life. There's, scenarios that you don't have control of, with partners, in your business, with your building, with some of your customers. You don't know how things are going to unfold. You can plan the best you can, but you don't have control of all things, and you can't manage them tightly all the time. Sometimes even just weather and weird scenarios and storms and things, and you got mishaps. So what you can do is you can sort of do some analysis and try to guess what might happen, and then what you will do if one of those scenarios happens. And it's good sense to have that in your plan, because you might decide to just step out and leave and give it up and vacate your total business, or you might keep going with a stiff upper lip if there's a way, and you can sort of anticipate what that way might be based on the scenario that could happen. Or some scenarios people just take things over, like squatters' rights. So you might give up what you're doing and look around and say, well, you know what, I think there's still a legit business in that thing over there, and those guys left, and I think there's some pie on the table. There's still some equitable thing I can do, and it's something nobody cares about anymore, and you just move in and take it over. And so that's where we're at. Start with the end in mind. What do you want to accomplish? And know your personal definition of success. For me, success in life is not some destination I'm reaching in this life here on earth. It's the journey and how I live it. And it has a lot to do with getting my work done each day and week, And then secondly, enjoying the company of people in my family and friendship circle and community, enjoying life that way, and just taking some time to relax. And then thirdly, having the odd adventure in life, having some fun and going out and doing it. So that's all, folks. Bernie May here, and Connections Consulting. We hope today we gave you some keys, just in a bit of a taster of who we are. Come attend one of our courses, the 3 that we have with the various level of versions, basic and advanced, sales management, customer service, and leadership and management of staff. And we'll do good with you. Today we've been talking about business planning and goal setting. So give me a call sometime. And, know and trust that we'll take care of you, because we will. And that's something you can count on. We are going to do what we say. And, you'll leave, at minimum, your people, in our training, will have a 23% gain in their market in whatever they're doing in one of those 3 categories. And you'll measure it and you'll know it's right. I have achieved personally double in my career for everybody I've worked for, and what I was handed and what I left behind when the job was done. And I've worked myself out of a job in some positions. There was no more work, and they reordered things and lowered costs with office administrators and that kind of thing when I was running operations. And in one of my jobs with sales management with Wolf Tracks, when I vacated at the end of 3 years, they replaced me with 3 people for the western half of North America in micronutrient sales in the agriculture market, 2 in Alberta and 1 in the Northwest United States. So a job well done here with Bernie May, and we teach you that, and we aim to, glean everything so that your people can know it quickly in a day, at the most 2 days in a retreat scenario, and you'll get what you're paying for. Every dollar invested will be an outcome you can count on in the marketplace to take you where you want to go to achieve your goals. So go with that. Bernie May, Connections Consulting, 403-519-3495. We look forward to seeing you, and hopefully soon.